Constantin Alexander.
Michael Jambroni. You know, to be part of like this big story, I was just like, well, this is crazy, you know, which is nuts. So for anybody who doesn't know, Bramare lasted 9 months.
Look up Bramare. It's crazy.
This is not a short story. There's still some legal things.
We'll do a lot of allegedly.
I had $70,000 in unpaid employee liabilities. Dude, I got this one friend who gave me 25 grand in a parking lot. Evan, he was a true believer. The biggest regret that I have of all of this was
Constantin Alexander.
Michael Jambroni.
You old so-and-so.
You son of a gun, you.
How you been, man?
Pretty darn good. Missing you, of course.
Well, you know, we had something beautiful with Bramare, but we're going to get into that after you tell me why you wanted to start off with a Jack Diet Tall.
So 10 years ago, I was opening a restaurant, maybe 12 years ago, called Yawacha in Hawaii for a company called Hakkasan Group. And Yawacha, Hakkasan's the best, you know, great job. I worked for 8 years and everything. And Yawacha was a total train wreck of an opening. I was there for 7 weeks. Nothing was really going right. There's a lot of different reasons. And Ryan and I, he was the director of purchasing and I was the director of beverage from North America. And we were there and just working every day, trying to do everything, trying to fix this project. It's just nothing was going right? And one day we're like, we need to take a day and just like, we didn't really have days off. We're like, we need to take a day and just like go drinking, right? So we met at 12 p.m. at a bar called Amnesia, which is on Kalikaua Avenue in Hawaii. And it's a kind of place that's a nightclub at night, you know, so we got there and it still smelled like all the bad decisions of last night. And it had like, you know, neon paint, whatever. And we had made a decision to drink one drink the whole day in Hawaii so we can elongate our debauchery. And so we tried to figure out, well, what can we drink? And I had never had this drink before in my life. And Ryan Dennis drank Jack and Diet Cokes. And he's like, well, you can get a Jack and Diet Coke just about anywhere, right? So then I had one, and just for fun, we decided we were going to count how many Jack and Diet Cokes we had that day. And 32 Jack and Diet Cokes later at 4 a.m. at a crappy karaoke place in Hawaii, this was my new favorite drink. And it's simple because you can get it just about anywhere you go. Because people ask me all the time, they're like, what do you like to drink when you go out? You must like order this, or you must love like Gronies, or you must love fancy like cocktails. And I'm just like, I just want to drink a nice, simple drink. Similar to how you ask a master sommelier, like, what do you drink when you must want to drink like this and that? And almost every master sommelier I've asked that question to has said, a beer and a shot. You know, they just want to have something to ease up, relax, and do whatever. So this is just kind of like that all started, and now it just became my favorite drink because it's simple and I can get it anywhere. I never have to worry about it other than having shoddy ice or a bartender who pours them too stiff, which isn't really a problem because you could fix that. So that's why I love this drink, and that's why I've chosen to start off pouring stories with this cocktail.
It's apropos because this was my first drink that I drank in a bar. Now, I wasn't 21 at the time, but this is a very long time ago. Statute of limitations, yada, yada.
Is that like 6 years ago?
Yeah. I'm a grandfather now. I'll have you know.
I know.
It wasn't Jack Diet Tall, but I just remember sitting at the bar and I'm like, man, try to blend in. What do you order? And I'm like, Jack and Coke's a dude drink that normal people order. And I go, I'll take a Jack and Coke, and I give him a fake ID, and he goes, okay, how old are you really? And I was like, it's right there, I'm 21. I waited for the ID to turn 21 because I found it. It was like someone else's actual ID.
Right.
Again, statute. And he goes like, tell me, I will not kick you out. And this bar is long gone, and I don't know what happened to that guy. But and I go, I'm 16. He's like, Jesus. And I was just like, man, I'm sorry. But from that point on, I was allowed to walk in there, gamble.
Oh, really?
All sorts of stuff. Now, this was called Famous John's, and it was a dive behind the beach, which was on like Paradise and DI.
behind the. You can't be a good bar if you're behind the beach.
Seriously. You're like, yeah, in the seedier area. You're like, wait, isn't the beach the seedy area?
The beach is it, yeah. It's
Man.
apex.
I was too young to actually experience the beach. By the time I was 21, it was gone already.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Jack and Coke is, I think, a lot of people's first legitimate drink too. And I know this wasn't your first drink, but it kind of makes sense because Diet Cokes, it's like, if anything, you see people drink Diet Cokes, they can drink 100 of them.
Right.
And there's the caffeine, keeps you going. And then Jack's cheap and everywhere, right?
Everybody's got it.
Is Jack like as big as Johnny Walker? Is Johnny Walker like the biggest one in the world?
Johnny Walker is the second biggest brand in the world, and I think they make something like 20 million cases of it a year because it's an international brand. Jack Daniels is like a 12, 13 million case brand, and it's mostly in the United States. But then even like their offshoots, like the Honey and Fire, are like million case brands. So I think Johnny Walker is a bigger brand globally as far as case production. It probably is bigger, but this is one of the biggest production whiskeys in the world for sure. It's Tennessee whiskey. It's cheap. It's good. Whatever like that. So, but a lot of people are surprised that I drink Jack and Diet Coke because they think I'm like more like studious, and I'm just like, whatever, man. I'm just drinking, having a cup of cocktails.
We're almost bougie by profession,
right?
So it's like when I'm behind the clock and you're working on cocktails or whatever, and or you're working on a venue, you got to think venue centric. So it's like, yeah, I don't really want to sell a ton of Jack, and though this is probably great profit margin, but it's like, I don't really want to sell a ton of these, and I'm not thinking that when I'm at work. But as soon as you're off work, you're like, okay, that was work. Now I want simplicity, easy, something I can just don't have to get up and make stuff.
This is one of those products that I get mad at bars sometimes who want to be like bougie and change the world and special, and they don't carry like Jack or Tito's or Crown or Hennessy, and I'm just like, you don't have to like advertise them. They don't have to be on your menu, but you're really alienating a lot of people, and you're starting off the dining experience with an adversarial conversation. If you're like, we don't have Tito's. I'm like, you just kind of have to have Tito's at this point. You have to have things like Crown and Jack Daniels. And like, I remember when I started at Hakkasan, there was the nightclub version of Hakkasan and then the restaurant, and they were trying to like make it work. The restaurant version was from London, and they were super bougie. So when I got there, I came 5 months after opening, and there was a lot of challenges. I asked the staff, I'm like, hey, what can I do to help? They're like, can we carry Jack Daniels and Tito's and Crown? And I'm like, what do you mean you don't care? You're a nightclub restaurant. They're like, no, they won't let us carry it. And worse, they carried Jack bonded or something, like the single barrel. And so it's all it was doing was pissing people off. I'm like, look, we can have our nice fancy stuff, but if for the normies of the world, just have it. You could hide it under the bar if you want. Just have it, because now you're just making people happy. That's what we're here to do. This hospitality is making people happy.
100%.
Simple. So when people don't carry it because they're like, I'm just like, man, just carry your other stuff and put it on the menu and do cocktails with this like small batch crate. Sure, just carry it.
Yeah. Well, when I was working at Yard House many years ago, I remember one of the directors there was just like, I know you guys are wondering why we carry Bud Light. He's like, because that pays the bills here.
Yeah.
He's like, and the rest of this stuff is for fun, that no one's buying like a ton of these sours and no one's buying a ton of these, but I can have that because we sell 1,000 Bud Lights a day or whatever, and he's like, it's cheap. It's what people want. I'm not here to fight it. So I agree with that. Though I'll say like, there's a few niches, like when I was at Gatsby's, and again, I don't know how right this is, but we did not carry Tito's because we wanted to make another brand happy. And it was the one thing that we didn't carry, just out of like love for a brand that, was in there a ton, was spending a bunch of money, and we used a bunch of their product.
There are a lot of marketing companies, and I know exactly what brand you're talking about, and I will not say it, and their marketing deals are based on you not carrying Tito's.
Right.
Right. And like, that's where the vodka wars have gotten, where it's like, for you to get this marketing dollars to spend, you can't carry Tito's. And it's like, it's just crazy, but because they know that we're like, well, we don't have Tito's, but we have this. And so that's totally normal, and that's totally for a high profile opening. Like, and I've had people pitch that to me before, and I'm just like, get the.
But that's to your point too about like when you're at if you're at a small boutique place, because Sparrow and Wolf is like you said, like they don't carry products.
I don't think they carry Diet Coke there. I think Brian is just like they might now, but yeah. And that's cool, man. And he's successful doing it.
Every bottle, every spirit you sell is a conversation. Whereas like sometimes you want an easy sell where it's just like, great, that was an easy guess. I can go to the complicated guess. That's taking all my time and putting me behind. Thank God that person was easy. But instead it's like, sorry, we don't carry Jack Daniels. We do have George Dickel. What's that? And it's like, shit, now I got to talk about that.
The problem with this is there's not, like, if you don't carry Jameson, but you can carry Tullamore Dew if you're anti-big brand or whatever. I mean, most of us made for Jameson. But there's not like a similar product. You know, it's
100%.
charcoal filtered Tennessee whiskey. There's just not a lot. But I get it, man. And Brian, I love him. He's super successful and whatever like that. James Tree's the same way. You know, he likes the smaller brands, whatever like that. He doesn't deal. I mean, that's what those guys want to do. It's great. And it obviously is working for them.
Oh, of course.
You know,
absolutely.
But it's
if
you're not one of the most talented and famous, successful chefs in the city, it's harder to get away with. You know, James and Brian get away with it because people just love their restaurants and they're so good at what they do.
Something about footprint too, right? Like if it's a high volume place where it's a club, Hakkasan, like you mentioned, you gotta be simple. You gotta have your nice stuff, but you also gotta have something that the average person doesn't need a conversation because it's too loud. You're not hand selling anything. They come in there, they want what they want. They don't need to be told. I don't even know if people look at menus at clubs. Not that I don't go to clubs.
They look at the bottle service menu. That's about it.
That's about it.
Orlando Okendo, the director of operations for Hakkasan, one time came up to me in the office and he was like, hey, can you put together a list of all the drinks in the night? Because we want to have like the drinks made the same at like Omnia, as Hakkasan, as One Oak, whatever. And I said, sure. And I went over and I grabbed a napkin and I wrote down 3 things on it and I handed to him. And he's like, what's this? I'm like, that's 98% of the drinks people order at your nightclubs. It was a Long Island iced tea, an Adios MF, and number 3, interestingly enough, was an Incredible Hulk at the time.
Oh,
it was Incredible Hulk like 12 years ago. And then Cosmopolitan. And that's what they ordered. And, you know, every once in a while people order like a Tito's and soda or something like that. And he kind of just laughed. He's like, all right, never mind. I was like, yeah, what do you want, man? You want to try to like, you know, the 17 Sex on the Beaches that you sell, try to figure it's not worth it.
I bet you could get away with a lot before all of the computer systems. Like if you were the artist of the bar and like before all these data was out there, you could say like, no, people buy this. And they're like, well, we did have some liquor sales, but it's not categorized. Yeah. But, you know, at Ferraro's, I launched a new spring menu. So daily I'll be like, hey, Scott, how many did Dante's Infante sold last night? You know, so I can actually see, is it doing good? Oh, do I need to fix something? Is there something wrong with that?
What is in a Dante's Infante?
So I wish I had the bottle. Hendricks.
You don't have a bottle here? This bar has more alcohol than probably any bar in the city -5.
I'm going to have to get some, Nick might have to bring me, Nick works with them, so he might have to bring me a bottle for the podcast. But so, you know how Hendricks has been coming out with all these different botanicals?
Yeah, they've got this like fancy white one or something. I forgot what it was called, but it was good.
Like I love this one. That, you know, that's an example. This is the lunar, and they had like a solstice, and that one has
Hendricks, where the moon comes out at night. Did that even make sense?
I mean, seriously, right? You're like, wait, when else would the moon come out? But so this one has lavender as a botanical, and there's like one other thing that makes it like sleepy time, like botanicals, and
ether
or relaxing, right? And then they've come out with so many that now they made an inside joke that says another Hendricks is the name of their new one.
Yeah, it's the white. It's good. It's like a simpler version.
It's orange flower water and cacao.
Yeah, it's good.
When I heard orange flower water and cacao, I thought Bramare, Infante.
Yeah.
And I was like, because an Infante is like a modern classic that is Blanco tequila, 2 ounces, and I think it was like 3/4 lime, orgeat, and then orange flower water, shaken.
Angostura.
And Angostura bitters?
Yeah, 1 dash of Angostura.
Whoops. But
3 drops of orange flower.
Well, that's why mine's different.
It's different. Different's not always
I forgot
bad,
about the Angostura, truly. But so, and then you do nutmeg on top. So with the cacao and the orange flower water in there, I'm already like, this works, you know? So then making that with, instead of tequila, the Hendricks, I pumped up a little more orange flower water in there because it still needs more for that cocktail. And I only did a dash of orgeat because the Hendricks is more delicate than a tequila.
It's closer to an Army Navy than it is to an Infante, G.
What?
I'm just saying, it's gin.
Lime? Well, I mean, it's a play. But then, so there's a really awesome vermouth that you will freaking love. And it's called 9 de Dante. and they make three. This company, I forget what like the overarching company's called, but it might just be Nine to Dante, but Nine to Dante makes the Inferno, the Purgatorio, and the Paradiso, which is their sweet, dry, and like a luxury vermouth that's like a rosé, and they're just outstanding. But the Dante vermouth rosso is like rich and fruity, and I sink that on the bottom so it looks like you got this like red pit, and then you got the white on top of that, and then nutmeg.
I gotta come in and try it.
And then 2 fire sticks.
Your
From Fresh
drinks
Origins.
are amazing. I gotta come in and try it.
Well, and so you were talking a lot about numbers, and you were showing us like a lot about the back end of stuff. So let me really introduce you. You know, Constantin, you've done a lot in town. You're kind of known as like a spirits expert, a great arm wrestler. But what, like, I want to get to Capitol Grill because we have a personal story between that. But tell me about Hakkasan. Like, what was that like? And you kind of made your name in Hakkasan.
Yeah, I mean, Hakkasan's where I kind of got on the map. I worked at Monami Gabi for 3 years, and I left Monami Gabi. Letterson changed an amazing company. I loved everything about it. But I basically gave them a year's notice to get me to the GM level. And they just didn't have anything because their GMs are really well taken care of. They don't leave. And the GM of Monami was a friend of mine. And at a bar, I was just like, "Are you ever going to leave?" He's like, "No."
No. He's like, "Gotcha.
Sorry, kid." and so they were, they offered to move me to Chicago and LA. It didn't work well. So I left and I took a job. I took a chance job, and I was pretty, I was fine financially. I could take a risk. And I took a chance job at a place called Comme Ça at the Cosmopolitan, which was there's a French, that's actually where I met Brian Howard, who was a menace to society back then. He's great now, but he was a menace back then. And I worked with him for a couple months, and not because of him, that was a challenge. But I met a guy named Mike Laporte, who was the VP of operations for David Meyer's group, and then he left to go to Hakkasan, which had just opened, and it was this huge thing. There's billboards everywhere, whatever. It was just crazy, right? And so I left. I decided I wanted to leave Comme Ça, and I kind of just was like, I'm gone, right? I mean, I gave him notice, but I'm like, I'm leaving, right? You guys, it's not what I expected. And I called Mike up, and he's like, I've been waiting for you to call. He's like, this place has so much potential. It needs someone like you who is organized. But I can bring you in as the bar manager. So it was my 4th straight, because it went GM of Morels, AGM at Monami Gabi, AGM, co-GM of Comme Ça to bar manager at Hakkasan. So I'm just going like this salary wise, and I'm just like, whatever, right?
Love of the game.
Yeah, he's like, in 2 years you'll be in charge of everything, and I'm like, all right, cool. So he brings me in, and there was, it's a challenge. The day one, they had a wine director and a director of beverage nationally, and both people were gone day one, right? And so then I got hired to take care. And it just was one of the situations where I'm like, if I just kind of work and do the job, and then just start not kicking down doors for other things that I know need to be done, things can happen. And over that 2-year period, I got promoted 4 times into these different roles up with the company. Because when I started with the company, they had 5 restaurants, and we ended up with 8 years later with 41. A lot of those were acquiring. We bought Enlightened Hospitality Group, Herringbone and Seersucker. We bought H Group, which was Nice Guy, and Delilah down. We bought Light Group, which is a big one. So there's a lot of acquisitions and stuff like that. And then I started forming a team. I had Kat Thomas was my training manager. Tim Weigel was my mixologist. And Gabor Foth was my wine operations guy, and it was just a great, crazy thing. It just grew right like that, and everything was going great. It was right, whatever, and then and I had, I think, probably the best job in the beverage industry in town. It was amazing. I had worked in 5 weeks vacation. Plus, I had 3 weeks of education time. So I got 3, and everybody was just happy, because everything just ran well, right? And the reason it ran well is because it became just a complete, autocracy. Anybody, if you need a question answered, just go to Constantin. He will answer the question, right? And so I loved it. And it all was great. It just ended with COVID, and...
wow, that was the break for Hakkasan.
For me. So when Hakkasan, when COVID happened, I mean, nobody knew what was going on, right? I was in a very comfortable situation. I'm just I told Hakkasan, I'm like, look, guys, whatever happens, happens. I get it. Then They laid off 1,600 people, then they laid off 253, then they laid off 52, then they laid off at the end 8. I was one of the 8. And like until then, like we're all getting half salaries and just nobody knew what was going on, you know?
You just stuck your head out. You're like, I think it's good.
Everybody's COVID was different, you know? Like I was fortunate, you know, and I was just playing pool and, you know, I drove Uber just to get out of the house. And, you know, I was fine financially. So it was like, you know, it was different than a lot of people's COVIDs, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, and so then, you know, that's when I kind of, like, I loved everything about Hakkasan. And, you know, and when things got back to it, they called me. But at that time, I had already agreed to, you know, I basically said I want to do my own thing, you know, and start something new and do whatever. And I'd already kind of agreed to those steps that, you know, what a bad decision that was. And now it's a great decision.
That's
why I met you.
I mean, hey.
So
sorry about that too.
you thank Bob Cranston for that one. He gave me your name. Bordeaux Bob. And he just got married.
Did he?
Yeah, him and
wow.
Kim.
And he's not in town anymore, right?
No, he's in town.
Oh, he's in town?
Oh, he
great.
sells wine and all that stuff. He delivers it himself. The guy's got to be 100 years old now.
Well, that's interesting.
He just got married. He just got married to Kim.
Incredible.
Yeah, they did.
Congratulations.
They did their reception at Ada's. But yeah, that was Hakkasan. It was great. It was amazing. And so at Hakkasan, you know, my job was to go out and get to know people, handle a lot of partnership contracts and stuff. We had a guy named Joe Harrow, who's one of the best people I've ever met, who handled like the macro partnership stuff with like the big nightclub deals and everything like that.
Yeah.
You know, the we can't say numbers, but like the many, you know, the dollar amount things with like Moet Hennessy, Pernod, like those big ones, right? The things like you talked about.
Right.
And then I was like kind of like the fighter of craft brands, but I understood what had to be done and not had to be done.
Right. You're still a businessman at heart.
Yeah, and there were some things I like pushed back on, like, you know, there was times where like we got to have this energy drink represented on every cocktail menu, and I'm like, no, you know. And so there were certain things I fought back on.
Integrity.
I'm just like, listen, man, like it's not gonna work. I'm sorry, it's just not working out. It's not me, it's you. And so there's times like that, but you know, it's just an amazing experience overall with Hakkasan. But that's how most people know me, and that's why most people know me as a cocktail and spirits guy. Funny story, when they hired me at LEV Group. And I'll get to how that whole thing happened. But after they hired me, they kind of was like, well, you know, what's your like wine knowledge like? I'm like, well, I actually wanted to be a master sommelier and was studying, but people know me as a cocktail guy because of Hakkasan. But my background is actually stronger in wine, you know, believe it or not. And they're like, oh, that's great. And it was kind of a funny conversation I had with my bosses at LEV Group.
Where'd your background in wine get strong based on your trajectory? Like, I mean, obviously, what was the French one, the French restaurant you mentioned?
Morel's, I had to take over as wine director there. I worked at a restaurant in Virginia called Cloven Tavern, which is basically a 2-star Michelin restaurant. Michelin didn't rate it, but that's the level it was at. And learned about, I just always liked wine. But yeah, my first like buyer role was at Morel's. I was a GM and I became wine director just out of necessity and was always involved. So, and at Hakkasan, we had, you know, a robust wine program there.
Well, and I loved, so we started to touch on it. So after the COVID happened, and you said you're like, and you know, we get through the lockdown, and then you're like, it's time to do my own thing.
A guy named Chris Conlon called me, who used to work at Hakkasan as executive director, or executive culinary director. And he said, and Michael Laporte, the same guy who brought me to Hakkasan, actually told Chris to call me. Because I was just kind of goofing off. And without getting into too many details, I was kind of like I was thinking about just like not really working again, you know, or like just kind of, because I was stable, right? And they were
Pool must be really good for you.
I mean, that was my living for a little while. Not anymore. It used to be pretty good. So they were going to open basically a guy named Wayne Jeffries, who's a really cool guy, and Chris Conlon and Evan Glussman were going to open a food hall in the Uncommons called Platform 1. And it was where the Sundry ended up being. And they wanted me to run it. So they called me and I met with them and they were like, yeah, this is the plan. It was going to be like, there was like 20 partner chefs, whatever. Brian Howard was involved, like Michael Stan was involved, like Marty, like all these people were involved, right? So I was going to be the one to run it. And then they pitched it to me and I was like, basically like, sure, whatever, right?
A lot of cooks in the kitchen though.
A lot of cooks in the kitchen, needed a personality who was going to be organized, who could handle having 3 owners,
all big personalities.
All big personalities, and then all these different people, right? So we get this thing going, and without going into too many details, it just like challenges along the way with the lease and things like that. And I'll be careful what I say, but we didn't do the deal, right? So we didn't do the deal. While we were in that process, a distributor who will remain nameless kind of went haywire and just started selling all this alcohol, like
discounted?
For discount. It was like 10% of cost, and it wasn't like a bottle of Jack Daniels. It was like wine, whatever, right? So I talked to, I'm like, hey, we need to like buy some of this, right? So we bought some stuff. I moved some of it around. Maybe a strategic movement. Didn't cross any state lines. And we made like a ton of money to recover the costs because there was legal and design on platform one. There was a lot of money invested. So we recovered that and then some more, right? So during that time, Chris went one way, Wayne went another way, Evan was there. And so Evan came up to me, he's like, hey, I like you, let's you and I do something, right? So I'm like, all right. So then we had like a timeline because we made a bunch of money on this wine, right? And so I got a chunk of that. So like now we're like not flush, but we're like, we got some time, right? So he pitched that we would do something, right? And so I started looking around and I found Table 34 was a restaurant that was owned by Lori and Wes Kendrick, who are brother and sister. And I always knew of it, I'd been there before. And it was just at the end of its run, like it was good. It was doing fine. It wasn't profitable anymore, but it was kind of profitable. But they had this sweetheart deal with their landlord where they like weren't paying rent. It's like a long-standing relationship. They'd been doing it for 20 years.
It's time.
Their clientele, for lack of a better word, was dying off. It was just the clientele was getting older, and they needed somebody else to go in and take a chance on it. And so it wasn't very expensive. Evan and I could personally finance it, so we didn't have to really raise anything for it. And, so we got that going, and the timing of switching of, if you're ever going to buy a restaurant or any business and you have to transfer the liquor license, just know that can be challenging because you can't really transfer it. You have to get your own, right?
Right.
So the licensing was taking longer than it should have. And Evan was kind of like paying me to not get another job. But then like that ended. So then I just wasn't working. And it was just like kind of a challenge getting it all open. We get the license and we open it on June 20th, 2022, I think, right? And opened it. And that's where Batch Hospitality, which was the name of the company that Wayne, Chris, and Evan had named, that's where that kind of got started. And that's where I started with Evan at Table 34.
Knowing where this story ends, it's just like...
Right. So Table 34... I mean, are we on our next drink yet? You want another Jack?
I'm
this
itching.
Story is not a short...
I'm itching, dude.
This is not a short story. And I got to navigate the whole thing being like, what should I say and not say here? So.
Oh, I mean, I want you to feel comfortable with whatever you tell us, but it's very intriguing.
There's still some legal things to be worried about,
We'll do a lot of allegedlys.
A company formerly known as.
And real quick to talk about what we're drinking here, and then we'll go back to our story on Batch Hospitality and Bramare. We're drinking a Mezcal Hemingway Daiquiri. And you selected this drink. Why?
A Mezcal Hemingway Daiquiri is my favorite drink because you can go into a real cocktail bar and order it, and you can learn a lot of things about that bar by ordering this one drink. You learn, do they use fresh grapefruit? Do they use fresh lime? Do they have quality ingredients, quality maraschino? What kind of mezcal are they going to pull off? I always ask, well, what kind of mezcal are you going to make it with? How sweet do they typically make their drinks? Does the bartender have to look it up or they just know how to make it? Things like that. And I feel like you can learn a lot. So if I go into a really good cocktail bar, I typically will start off with this as a classic just to see how it is and see where my night goes from there. Because I know I'm not just gonna have one drink and get out of there. So it's my favorite drink, classic. I do sometimes have to ask how they're gonna make it. I didn't do that with you because
Really wish you had.
because you are a expert at your craft. But
I still always research. Salud.
how'd you make this one?
So
Jambroni.
I like to go off of liquor.com for like spec recipes unless I have like an affection for something.
You and I had a drunk conversation about that one night. About like how liquor.com is like the one. Like if we have to like decide, it's liquor.com.
Right.
So
And this was, on liquor.com, if you look up Negroni, it says, or Negroni. If you look up Hemingway Daiquiri, it says 2 ounces of a rum, we're using Mezcal in this case, a half ounce of Luxardo Maraschino, a half ounce of grapefruit, and 3/4 ounce of lime. Because, and the reason that it's like kind of, if you listen to that, it's very low sugar, is because the original Hemingway Daiquiri was actually coined, and I know you know this, but was actually coined the Papa Double. And that was because supposedly when, if you know who Hemingway is, he's an author that was in Cuba for a long time. He's kind of famous for his time in Cuba. And he was at the Floridita and he tasted a daiquiri and he was like, I like it, but I want double the rum and no sugar. And so they made that for him and he loved it. But then they tasted it and like, this is terrible. And, but that was the Papa Double because that was the way he liked it. And he was famous for having drank 16 of those in one night or something.
I'm not famous for doing that.
You're like, what about me? And then over the years, it got tweaked to balance it out a lot better with Luxardo, it was added, and grapefruit was added, but those weren't necessarily the original way it was made.
The way I learned it's a little more grapefruit. So it's like it's an ounce of grapefruit. The recipe I always use is 2 ounces of your base spirit, whether it's agricole rum, mezcal, ounce of grapefruit, half ounce of lime, 1/4 ounce maraschino, 1/4 ounce of cane sugar is the recipe that I've always used.
You know what's funny? Did we do it that way at Bramare?
We did, and we made an agricole Hemingway that was on the classics menu, which was perfect.
Yeah. That's right.
And it was just really, really tasty.
I added a little half ounce of grapefruit because I thought it was lacking a little grapefruit.
Yeah.
But that, I blame liquor.com. Then again, this is a mezcal, not a rum, which the mezcal is going to change things.
We're just singing its praises, and we just changed one of its recipes for liquor.com.
That's true. Well, I asked you what you wanted. You wanted mezcal, and you said something about El Solencio.
So, El Solencio, who I believe, I don't know if it still is, but was owned by a guy named Fausto, was... I brought El Solencio into Las Vegas because we used it at the Hakkasan in Beverly Hills, and a girl named Tarita really liked it and had me meet Fausto. We brought it in, and it was an emerging brand. And they just used a Hoven, which is the expensive one because you're bougie. But the black one, the simpler El Solencio, made quite a splash in town, and it was kind of like the de facto. And they had some money behind it. They did a great trip down to Oaxaca where they brought the caliber of bartenders they brought down there was crazy. So it was like 90 people. So they invested a lot to get 90 people down there.
I mean, my God.
Yeah. That's where I met Randy Tarlow, met some other people. I got a really good time there, right? And so it's just it's a great mezcal. I don't know what's been going on with that. I don't really see much of it around. I know that for a while they were going to sell it to a couple come like Moet and something, but it didn't happen. So, but it's great. I remember I went down to Prohibition in San Diego with the team from Hakkasan, including Joe Harrow, who, if you ever watched this, will remember the story. And we drank probably 80 Hemingway daiquiris with El Solencio, where they had to go borrow some from what it was like 10 of us, right? And very time, everything was perfect. And I went in there 2.5, 3 years later, and just like in the middle of like a happy hour, I'm like, can I get a mezcal Hemingway daiquiri? He's like, you were in here 3 years ago and you ordered like 100 of these. And I'm like, yeah, that was
like,
can I just have one right now, please?
It's not the same. I've changed a lot since then.
But that's why I like this drink, and it's solid. The problem with this drink is if you order it at the wrong bar, it sucks. Well, there's a lot of ways to mess it up.
Self-admittedly, I feel like I did like a 6 out of 10, on this.
No, you're 7.5.
Hey,
7, yeah.
that's what she said.
And then your John makes it an 8.
But no, I was like, that's the part of this podcast too, is like at a real bar, sometimes things, don't go perfect. And if you haven't tried a cocktail recipe in a while, and I think I probably was making those a ton back then. And, I did remember, I was like, should I do the split on the sugar and the maraschino? Because I don't particularly love maraschino when it overpowers a cocktail. And like, especially with rum, because it's so much softer, the maraschino comes through even more. So I love the dialing back of maraschino in a lot of cocktails that call for, like, if it calls for 3/4, sometimes I've done a half and a quarter of simple just to like make it a little more softer on the maraschino.
Right. I mean, it's everybody's personal preference. For me, someone who just like is a connoisseur of the drink, I just ask them, how do you make it? And most of the time, I'm just like, can you make it this way for me, please? Sometimes I'll be like, oh, that sounds, I'll try it, And some of the best bars in the city, their recipes are just like, and I'll try it, and I'm like, it sucks, so.
When I get someone like you that comes in and shows me a different recipe or goes, hey, I like it this way, try it that way. And then I learned that day, I'm like, ooh, I like it that way too now, So let's draw back in. Let's pick up the conversation and I'll end up pouring another one of those Jack and Diets because I enjoyed that.
Yeah, it was good.
So after this is done, because me and you can drink.
That is a proven fact.
But so we were at the point where we created batch hospitality. We're at table 34 and.
So we're at table 34 and it was when you take over a beloved restaurant with a clientele that's aging out, like we knew we couldn't just buy it and not do anything because we're buying, like we had to do something.
Got to change it.
We tried to do the best we could to make people happy, but the first month was just really tough, especially on Chef Joe Valdez, because he was really trying to like use the same recipes that the chef did to try to just at the beginning to try to.
That doesn't sound like Joe at all.
And he tried, but some of the and no matter what we did, people were just like, this sucks. Like, cause Wes wasn't there. Wes was a very charismatic, he was the owner of the restaurant and he talked to every table, talk about Jack Daniels. Wes loved his Jack. He loved his Jack Daniels, loved his Coors Light, and he owned the restaurant at night, in reality and just like the way he interacted. So you can't replace that personality,
No.
And so people just kind of like were like, these guys are jerks. Like, I mean, like they're horrible. They're destroying the restaurant. Like all this stuff.
People hate change.
They hate it. And I just went around. I said, listen, we bought this restaurant to try to save it and whatever. And give us a chance, right? And it took a while, but finally we did establish our own clientele. I mean, I remember I had a Saturday night, and they used to be pretty busy on Saturday nights, but then a lot of the clients, they just didn't we would have dishes that Joe didn't even make, that people be like, this has changed. Like the guy who'd worked there 22 years, who's been making it for 22 years, was still making it.
It's like that's him.
And they were like, this is different. And then a couple of our good regulars were just like, hey, are these ribs the same? And they're like, yeah, I love them. They're the exact same. But other people were like, these are all, just vicious. And we were just like, we just made a decision. So we had one night where it was just really bad. And I go to Joe and I said, we're working this whole weekend. We're changing the entire menu. We're changing everything. We're not keeping anything. And
we're striking.
People can either like us for what we do or not, but I'm tired of them comparing the food to what Wes did because they just can't. And it wasn't an overnight thing, but basically our problems ended there because people were like, oh, so they have a new menu and then they try it. And they either like it or don't like it, And,
right.
And the first, 6 months, I was like, dude, I don't care if we run 40% food costs, just do it, make it good, whatever like that. Just do it. And so we won a lot of trust back from a lot of the clientele, and then we were establishing new clientele. But I remember there was a Saturday night where we did 80 covers, and I personally counted 65 of them were people that I knew. Talk about the support that I was getting. And, it just obviously warms my heart because I'm like, we're just here and we're just struggling, whatever like that. So we kind of got through that.
But in hindsight, do you wish you had totally changed the name and everything so that people don't come in expecting the same thing? Because it's
we considered changing the name a year in. We considered it. The reason we didn't is because they had done a lot of good work and we got a lot of referrals from the Strip, from concierges and stuff. And we felt like that would that would be detrimental, for changing the name. So instead, we just really updated it. We did a massive refurbishment, remodel, and which was more than I would have done. That's where Evan's influence started to come in, or he like really wanted to like go for it, and it looked beautiful. And we just kind of went forward and just changed the fabric of the restaurant.
And it was super luxury. I remember going there several times, and it was like, and when I say luxury, it's just like more decadent than you expect at like a neighborhood bar.
And it wasn't expensive. Like, I mean, we kept it like the Nyman Ranch steak that we served there was a 14-ounce steak. It was still my favorite steak that I've ever really had. And that's the same steak you're going to go to Delmonico. Not Delmonico, bad example because their prices are pretty reasonable. But you can go to those kind of steakhouses. It's just a $110 steak right now.
Right.
We're serving it for $58 with 2 sides. So we kept the prices really in line.
You say $38 with 2 sides?
58.
58. Oh, I was like,
it was a 40% item, and Joe would always be like, "We need to." I'm like, Joe, listen, if we lose a little money on the New York, just make sure your Caesar salads are good. We're gonna make a lot of money on the Caesar.
How's your mac and cheese?
We're gonna make it. Oh, he hated the mac and cheese. So we had a mac and cheese, and people would go, but it took like 30 minutes to make, and it took up like 6 pans on the line, and Joe hated it.
Well, that makes sense.
If Joe watches this podcast, he'll remember he like was every day I'd have to hear him be like the mac and cheese, and I'm like, Joe, all right, just take it off, take the mac. You win.
Yeah.
You win. Easy, buddy.
Compromise.
Right. But so we made it good and then. Yeah, it started doing better. I wanted to close it for lunch a year in. Evan didn't, and that was a decision I was an active participant in not like I could have forced that issue and I didn't. But believe it or not, when we closed it for lunch is when it really became profitable. Even though lunch was busy when you go in, you're like, oh, this place must be printing money. But it was busy on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. Then Mondays it was dead. Thursdays were iffy, and Fridays it was dead. And you got to pay cooks for 7 hours, you got to do this, whatever.
Everyone's so idealistic when they think about, I want to open up a restaurant, I want to open up this place, and they don't think of all the little things that you have to do to make everything go perfectly, and then you need to be lucky.
As busy as Table 34 was for lunch, when we closed it, we saved $100,000 just closing it for lunch. Now, we could have made lunch crappy and like counter service and just thrown sandwiches at people.
But then your image is going down.
Right. And so we a lot of staying open that year, like I look back at it, it was the sound of the government was supposed to do this big building or whatever, there were 5,000 people. We were going with the information we had at the time, and it was a logical enough decision. So I can't like say that it was made with sound logic, but in hindsight, it would have saved us an extra $100,000 if we had closed the year earlier.
Yeah.
So Table 34 is going, and so that whole time, Table 34 became profitable when we closed it for lunch, and then it started like clawing its way back. But by that time, we were already opening Bramare, which obviously, if you're ever going to open a second restaurant, make sure your first restaurant is very, very stable, and everything else in your life is very, very stable. We didn't do that.
That's therapy talk right there.
We didn't do that. There was a bank right next to Table 34, and I wanted to open a jazz bar there for like Henderson, because it was connected in the back, so we could have used a shared kitchen and bar. So we looked at it, and I was like, we do a jazz bar there. It's busy on Fridays and Saturdays, whatever. There's almost no and we could make it work. And we decided the build out of the bank was a little too much. So we didn't do it. But the guy who showed it to us, a guy named Dan Hubbard, who's great, was like, I got this other space you got to look at. And then he showed us the Bramare space.
Beautiful.
Well, when we got it, it was being used as a construction. It had been dead for 3 years. It was a cigar shop. Then it was a place called Juicy Beats, if you'll remember that.
I don't.
So anybody went to Cleaver a lot, there was a place called Juicy Beats, and this is really what it was called, a place called Urban Turban, which was an Indian food buffet. So there was Urban Turban and then this place called Juicy Beats.
I hope an Indian person owned that place. It seems
that's what it was really called. Apparently it was pretty good. And so we looked at this space, and then, Bramare was supposed to be a Italian tapas place that had a really good cocktail program and was supposed to be inexpensive and whatever. And it was built out, and it just spiraled into a super fancy, super nice place that was very good. That, you know, got on the Eater top 38 in 7 months and had a good reputation and a good, but it was just, the budget for that place was not done right.
Can we say how much you guys went over?
No.
Damn it. It was a lot.
It was a lot. And, you know, when the biggest regret that I have of all of this was leveraging Table 34 to help get Bramare open, because that's what ended up making Table 34 not work.
Right.
So that's when the two became connected. That's my biggest regret. But we were, and like I said, like, I want to make it clear, like, Evan had good intentions the entire time and everything he did. You know, he's not a bad guy. You know, it just, we were in this position and we had to leverage one restaurant to make the other one work. And its little engine that could, which was Table 34, was just turn it out, you know, like, because at that time, like, I mean, it's just, you know, but it was a small restaurant and it just, everything, it was tough, you know. You were there, you worked there, you know. I mean, and I tell people, and when I tell people, like, some, like, the environment, you know, like, then when we only hit payroll, like, where I was on time once, you know, like, just imagine that environment, you know.
Your stress levels.
Right. So the employees, like, you're going to employees, you're like, I can't pay you, like, on time. Yeah, but you believe.
So about your money.
Right. But you, like, believe so much in what you're doing, and we just have this dream, and, you know, and, like, Evan and I are both, like, just doing whatever we can to keep it going because we believe in it. And, you know, it's hard to just look at all your employees and be like, yeah, where's it go? You know, shut it, you know?
Well,
so,
it was very interesting because a year before you opened, you reached out to me and you were like, I like what you're doing in your world. And you're like, I'm going to start a bar with a restaurant attached.
Yes.
And I loved that idea.
That was the original plan.
Because
that is not what ended up happening.
Well, though,
yeah.
In my opinion,
the bar was supposed to be the focal point, and it was.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. In my opinion, you followed through on what you said, because I was craving a plate. Like, if you're a bartender in this world, you know that, and all the servers are going to disagree with me, but you know that we work harder than servers. I'm sorry. We have slow times where it looks like we're not very busy and a bad bartender doesn't do stuff, and that sucks. But in general, if you have a great cocktail program, that bartender was off the clock working, clocked in 2 hours. If they clock in, I clock out because I'm always hitting overtime. And I know it's not, listen, I don't do this, but I don't want to cost overtime and I want what I need done at the bar. So to help the restaurant, I might not quantify it as work, and I'm doing passion stuff.
Bartenders can work a lot harder, and they have to know a lot more, and they generally work longer hours. You know,
a server walks in.
Here's the way I try to explain it to people. Most bartenders, almost all bartenders, could go out and do a server's job. Not a lot of servers can go back and do a bartender's job.
Exactly.
So you have an employee, you know, who does it all, and it's tough. And Bramare was designed to be I mean, look, when we open, we're open until 3 a.m. You know, were you asking me? Is that what just happened?
No, I'm just like, I'm agreeing, like, that's what it's about.
So when we open, we're open until 3 a.m., you know, and it was designed to be a bar that had a restaurant attached, but the restaurant portion kind of just became this.
Well, Joe's an amazing cook, or chef. I'm sorry.
Joe is an amazing chef. I love Joe. Saw him the other day at Unstripped. He's great. He's at Basilico now, which is a great restaurant.
Love Basilico.
Yeah, and he, you know, the menu, it just kind of spun into like this kind of fancy place that is not what it was supposed to be.
I don't know if I agree with you.
Knowing what it was supposed to be,
like the Clubhouse, essentially.
Right, a bar that's always busy with really good, simple Italian food. You know, But there was other challenges, and like I said, I'm not here to like.
Definitely not simple. That's for sure. Dear God, we didn't do anything normal.
Yeah.
Like, and a credit to Joe. He didn't want to be like everybody else, which I agree, because it's...
I think the menu with the food was great. Like, I mean, it was just... I mean, at the end of the day, the challenge with Bramare was very, very simple. We started underfunded, you know? I mean, that's really what it was.
There was another challenge.
Well, there's lots of challenges.
We really beaten around the bush on the challenge that really put the nail in the coffin for Bramare.
So for anybody who doesn't know, who's watching this podcast, who's new, the Bramare lasted 9 months. Hold on, let me slam this.
I know, I was wondering what's wrong with your... I mean, you're talking more, so that's fair. I'll give you a break.
I promised to myself that I would be compassionate to Evan and what he's dealing with, because, like, so...
It's in the news, though.
It's in the news. So... Bramare lasted 9 months, and Bramare ended with Table 34. There was a news story involved. I'll leave it at that. I'll leave it to the viewer to look it up, right? I'm compassionate towards my business partner. I lost about 800 grand on this whole deal, right? So, give or take, there's still a couple things that need to be figured out. But about that, right? Which is a lot, okay? But... Now, you know, I've got a great job with a great company that I hope we can, you know, plug LEV Group, because they're amazing. Jeff Fine is amazing, great company. Got a great job. I have like money every 2 weeks that comes on my account. I don't have to pay other people, you know. And the way I met Jeff is actually a great story.
Do you hear this?
This is great.
Do you hear how much he's avoiding the topic?
I asked him. I'm getting there, okay. Right? So that's me now, right? Evan put his life on the line. He signed the loan. He did everything. He put his house. I mean, the guy really believed.
He bet it all.
He bet it all, right? So his challenges now, you know, today, and I mean, I remember having these conversations about him trying to, you know, like he put it all on the line. I had lunch with him 2 weeks ago. 2 months ago. And he is going to come out of this a better person.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, and he really believed, and he tried, and he really wanted it to work. Just made some mistakes that I'll allow the studio audience to look up.
Do your research. We're not going to elaborate more, because I want to talk about LEV Group next. But look up Bramare. It's crazy. Listen, and to put a button on this.
And I'm writing I'm writing a book, right? And this is part of the
even
book.
Better.
Yeah. It's called Where's My Table? It'll be out next year.
Like, really?
Yeah.
That's a great name.
I know.
I love that name.
Where's My Table?
And
it's going to have a picture of a fist. And I'm not going to get AI to do it. I'm going to get a real artist to take that picture. Nice. Because that's what we should be doing.
It should be this fist right here. Yeah, that's a better fist.
It's a great fist.
But... I was initially approached to be the lead, but it took a year to get off the ground.
Yeah, when I reached out to you first, when Bordeaux Bob Cranston, and then you were interested, and we met. We went to dinner.
I was obsessed.
We went to dinner at Basilico.
Hilarious.
Right.
Full circle, Joe.
God, first full circle
That
moment.
is very interesting.
We had a great dinner. It was you, me, and was Evan there, or was it? Yeah, it was Evan. No,
was it Evan? I don't think it was Evan.
No, was it Jen? No, Jen. No, I took Jen. Was it Joe? It was Joe.
Okay.
It was Joe.
Yeah.
Joe, and I went. Joe doesn't drink, so you and I drink. And one of Joe's comments like, well, he likes to drink. I'm like, well, so do I. You know.
At least I know this guy.
I mean, we drink.
One demon to another.
Right. And yeah, you were super jazzed, but then it stalled.
Well,
right?
Amari's my thing. I love Amari.
Yeah.
You know.
And another thing, dancing around another subject, things probably would have gone a lot better if you had opened that place as a So that's
I wasn't gonna go there.
Yeah, I just went there. So I guess for the full circle moment part of this is Bramare was. I mean, there was a lot of good for it, but and I already knew this going in. Just my recommendation to anybody who's going to open a restaurant is just make sure you're just really prepared for shit to go wrong. And the finances, that was the biggest challenge because, we opened on July 12th, and that was again, I made a commitment to myself to be compassionate to how the company was structured and decisions that were made. But like,
July in Vegas is slow. Summer in Vegas, super slow.
it was literally
For context.
the hottest day in the history of Las Vegas. You know, so if we had opened in October,
Yeah.
we would have paid rent for 3 months.
But not labor.
A fraction of the money it costs, right? Were there some positives because nobody's dumb enough to open in July? We got a lot of pressure, things like that, right? So, so it just, there was just one thing after the other, and then, when it was time to resolve issues couldn't get resolved, and then it culminated in how it ended, which was, a crazy story.
Well, the true sad part about it, and not even like trying to get like hype about something that's gone. Joe Pereira said it best. We had turned the corner and we had figured out late night, and Joe Pereira says, with respect to what Herbs and Rye is doing, because they're the best, like they've been doing it for years, and they were the old school clubhouse that all bartenders used to go to and say, oh, we're going to Herbs. And now it's so popular that it's not the same vibe because you're fighting tourists all day.
Yeah,
there's something to be said about the undiscovered place that's not on every news channel, that's not an international known name, and we had become the new industry clubhouse.
Yep.
And I felt so proud, and I was like, this is my final bar job. This is where I hang my hat.
We literally turned the corner in about March, but at that point in time, like the path was clear, and we were already I was looking to resolve things in certain ways, and there was different ways to do that. Divesting from Table 34, which was a successful restaurant, getting people to come in, like things like that. And again, there was challenges with dealing with, my business partner about how to do that in decisions, and he didn't want to, and so is what it is, so we tried, and then like I said, it just, when it ended, it was obviously to be part of like this big story. I was just like, well, this is crazy, this is nuts. I remember, I'll never forget, so for people who don't know, a lot of my friends know this, but when we closed both restaurants, there was a finite amount of time at Table 34 because we were in a landlord dispute, and it wasn't really the landlord's fault. It was our fault. So we're in a landlord dispute about something, and it was already in a legal fight, right? So, and there was an uncertain part of that fight. Bramare, when we closed, I still had the venue for a month. We had just paid rent, so.
It's a couple parties that I didn't get invited to, huh?
Right.
No, I'm just kidding.
so then I had to figure out, but when we closed, I had $70,000 in unpaid employee liabilities out there. So I'm like, all right. And so I just had to tell all the employees, I'm like, just trust me, you're going to get paid. after we closed these restaurants 7 days after this, front page news story, right? So and I was like, these guys are all just they're going to walk and they'll show up to get their checks, whatever like that. None of that happened. They all were there. They helped. They all came and helped me break down Table 34, which I had 48 hours to get everything out of there because of just all these challenges, whatever like that. They helped with Bramare. Then we started doing that liquor sale and everything like that. And at that point, the only thing that kept me going, because it was got to get people paid, whatever the case. That's how I met Jeff Fine, because I had a conversation with him the Sunday before we closed Bramare, and he called me. He was introduced to me about his name was given to me as someone who could resolve the unresolvable situation, right?
That's a nice title. He's a fixer.
Dude, and we talked for 45 minutes on a Sunday, and amazing guy. And, he's like, I can't. And I don't want to go into too many details about why it was unresolvable, but it was, at that point, it was unresolvable. It was resolvable a month beforehand. It wasn't resolvable then. And he just was like, wish me the best of luck and gave me advice, whatever. And that was it, right? So then I closed. And a couple of days later, he called me. He's like, what can I do to help? And I said, Jeff, I would really love you to buy some equipment or whatever you could buy so I could just try to raise this money to pay people. And he came in and he brought his team and they made fair offers. There wasn't a lot of haggling, whatever. Like I knew, and they helped a lot, you know.
Can I say a couple of things like that?
What's that?
I got a couple of things can I say.
Yeah, I mean, I sold some liquor, whatever. If
like
someone,
open stuff.
At that point, I mean,
well,
yeah.
I'm like, my grappa collection is outstanding now.
You want to hear something funny? So I remember you were there, and you and I were having a couple of drinks. And you bought some stuff. You spent money, and I'm like, you got a final check? Yeah, I don't know. We'll see how much it is, whatever, like that. And I had how much you bought in liquor, and it was exactly as much as your final check, like to the dollar. That was really cool. But yeah, I see that the Spring Bank, all that other stuff. It was good, you know.
And it wasn't a small check.
It was not a small check.
I was like, ooh, Barolo.
Yeah.
What's
So a couple people that really helped out, you know, and like, you know, Nick from Gaetano's bought tables and chairs for me a lot. You know, he was really helpful, right?
I still have a couple of your freaking glassware at Ferraro's.
Yeah. Gino and Mimo came and bought equipment. You know, they were very, very helpful. You know, Jeff Fine bought, like, and at that time, you know, everything at Table 34 we owned, but I made a deal with, like, basically when I talked to the landlord, I was like, look, I'll leave this stuff because, like, we had a good deal with that. But there was a lot of equipment that they took, basically a fixed stuff. You start talking to these people because you're breaking leases and everything like that. You know, they're like, well, how can we do this the most amicable way possible? And we were able to do that with them. And Thomas and Mac, great company, they did things the right way. Landlords for Bramare, like, you know, there's this equipment, it's all brand new, you know, but there's bank loans and ties. There's all this stuff, right? Like we had this discussion about the Toki Highball machine.
Oh,
right.
Spicy water.
Which is a $10,000 piece of equipment, but I'm just like, I don't think I could just go selling this piece of equipment, you know?
I know.
And so I labored over that and I decided I'm just gonna leave it there. It's probably still sitting there. And, you know, so when you're just trying to, and with the goal in mind of like, I just gotta pay employees.
I wanted that machine so bad.
I know.
The bubbles that come out of the Toki Highball machine, if you're not familiar, Sparrow and Wolf has one still, and it's extra bubbly. It's 3 times more bubbly than the typical club soda.
People love that fucking water.
And if you don't like club soda, this is painful. But if you like club soda, it
stings your mouth.
So people would start coming in, and we always talked about it. Should we charge for it? Because it's an expensive piece of equipment that doesn't pay for itself. And we didn't even use it for the Toki Highball. We just used it.
Sorry, Beam Suntory.
I know, sorry. We tried. We poured.
Yeah.
But the machine wasn't calibrated. They never calibrated it right for the whiskey, right?
They tried.
Yeah.
It's not their fault. It's me. That was me.
But the soda, I swear, people would come in all day and be like, I want some spicy water. And we were like, absolutely, no charge. It was awesome. It was just another thing. It's one of those things that's like, we don't nickel and dime you over something that's like cool and we could charge.
Yeah.
And that was a really cool thing about it.
People loved it. I will never forget, like, it's one of the things that kept me sane. It's one of the good things. Like, I loved having a Maro with that water.
Yeah.
The spicy water. I just love, like, a lemon twist.
And you'd get a grapefruit peel or a lemon peel.
Zuccolino or Zucca. It was so good, you know. And like, if I ever do it again, I will get one of those machines, you know. And I consider taking it out. It's just, it would have left a big hole in the bar. And at that time, I don't know what's going on. I don't know who's gonna come out, whatever like that. You know, like there's just so many factors, and I'm just like, I gotta just try to close this place down in the next 30 days to a point where to try to make everybody happy and amiable with this brand new broken lease, all this brand new equipment, like all this stuff, right? And so that's why I didn't take the Toki Highball machine, because I'm just like, I don't know. But I guarantee it's still sitting there.
Toki, you crushed it on that.
You crushed. Lancer, Mason Machine, Toki.
So let's move, because we're running out of time. So let's.
We're on a time limit here?
Well, I mean, we could do 2 parts.
All right.
I want to say you almost fell forward into, like, things are meant to, sometimes the older you get, the more you realize, instead of being upset about something, just wait to see what's next. Because what's next sometimes is often better than where you thought was the end of your life a minute ago.
So Jeff Fine calls me after he bought some good equipment from me, and it's the first time I met him, and he was just like, look, I'm really impressed with how you handled a very tough situation. Ooh. And maybe there's something for us to do. And he's like, to be clear, I don't have a job for you, but like, you know, maybe something in the future, whatever. And he was just very compassionate and nice and just kind of called and checked up on me, right? And so I met with...
So when you say his name, what are we talking about? Ada's?
So Jeff Fine owns a company called LEV Group, and it's named after his son, Lev, who's a great kid. And they started off as a franchise company with Coffee Bean and Jamba Juice, and then they went into restaurants and started with, I think they had like I Love Burgers might have been their first like restaurant, but their first like fancy restaurant was La Strega, which is a partnership with Gina Marinelli. So currently, LEV Group has a bunch of Coffee Beans and Jamba Juices, and then they have 11 portfolio restaurants. They have Harlow, which is a super fancy, cool steakhouse in Summerlin. Fine Company, which is a cool breakfast lunch place that just opened for dinner in Summerlin. La Strega, Italian Bistro, Gina Marinelli. A couple of partnerships with James Trees with Al Salito Posto and Ada's, which are just amazing restaurants. And then some bar type places. Well, then there's Double Zero, which is kind of in between. It's a top 50 pizza place, which is great. But then the Golden Tiki, which everybody knows the Golden Tiki, right?
Adam Raines.
Adam's awesome. He's kind of adjacent now. He's doing his own thing, but he still helps. Like he does events with us. He's great, but he doesn't work for us anymore. Evil Pie, which can make like 1,000 slices in a day, and a new place called Taco Escobar. And then we have a couple places, Jaw Burritos and Lobster Me, which are kind of like casual places on the strip.
And you're the beverage director over all that.
All of them.
Wow.
I don't have a lot to do with like Lobster Me and Jaw Burritos. They have.
They need to have liquor.
Yeah, they do, but it's simple, right? We have a couple new projects opening, which I cannot talk about, but they're cool and they're.
And I mean, with the trajectory of LEV Group, it sounds like it's going to be good.
It's going to be good, right? So they hired me, and right as this was all happening, they had a wine guy, and he decided to go in a different direction after a few years of company, and I just kind of took over his role and some other roles. So I have a kind of broad role with them. So I'm part of like they just kind of brought me in, and it's been great. They're great guys. I love how they do things, whatever. It's a great company, and they care. I mean, there's some really high quality venues that they have, and so there's a lot of cool things. Now, will I get the itch to open something in the future? Maybe. Oh. Will the first person I talk to like try to maybe collaborate on that be Jeff Fine? Absolutely.
I was about to crack my knuckles and be like, he needs a lead there somewhere, but no.
Somewhere.
Jeff Fine's more important. I get it.
But yeah, landing on my feet was important, and I was fortunate that I didn't have to really go out and look for a job. It found me. I had a couple other different options, and I just kind of was like, hey, what do I want to do? What's my goal? Do I want to, what kind of life do I want to live? And I didn't want to travel anymore. I got a few people calling about like national jobs you travel around. I'm just like, I don't have the energy right now for that. And also, like, I just had a traumatic experience, and I'm like, this is not over yet. Like, I still, I still feel sad about certain things. Like the last spirit we're gonna drink, there's a story behind that bottle that I brought.
Whenever you feel like bringing that up,
I don't know what a time limit is here.
I mean, it's people don't like to watch things more than 90 minutes apparently, but
oh, that's the time. That's the limit. All right,
I mean, we can always break it into 2 parts.
So we got 3 minutes. All right. So that part of the story, there's things that aren't resolved yet because these things are not always. Go light on that. That's not my bottle. I'll tell the story of that bottle in a second.
Whoops.
My friend Rebecca will watch this. That's her bottle, but she'll appreciate that what's going on with this.
Getting a lot of love.
Yeah, and but yeah, landing on your feet and figuring out, and the show of support that I got was overwhelming. Because people don't want to call you. They let you. So yeah, I got like 600 texts. And it's like, and people are like, hey, I know, and I'm just like, I'm like, hey, like, I'll get back to you. I'm okay.
I know. It's like I don't want to come off as the asshole that didn't respond to anybody.
No, I'll get back to you. I'm okay. Because you can't have the conversation. You can't, because you're saying that you just can't. At that point, you can't.
Well, yeah, everything's in the air.
Yeah, now I can have the conversation because it's a year later, and I'm over it mostly. I'm still not over certain things, but I'm over it mostly, right? And when you love something and put a lot of effort into it, and it's gone, like, it takes some time, right? But the show of support and like, when we were selling things that people come in, nobody was haggling. They bought, like I said, it just helped, right? Because, when you're just trying to do the right thing with employees and vendors, like, I tried to do the right thing with vendors, but we're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars, of like vendors that weren't, and
you have
eventually
a business to run.
Yeah.
The vendors it's a thought, but it's not my life isn't focused on the vendors. They're here to help me and I want to help them back.
There's still a couple small vendors. I declared bankruptcy, and my bankruptcy was for $4.5 million, right? That's not what I lost personally, but that was what I protected myself from, right? And I don't know. I probably shouldn't say shit like that. Like, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe
fair.
Maybe edit that out. I don't know.
Let us know.
So, it's public record. So.
Okay.
Yeah. My bankruptcies are public record. So, but that's, I'm not going to screw over friends who loan me money. Like I have payment plans with a bunch of friends. 6 figures worth of like, everybody's like, I'm going to pay you back. Because, there was like, dude, I got this one friend who gave me $25,000 in a parking lot at a Lee's Liquor in cash. Like, because I needed, like, and I'm paying that guy back. Yeah.
Damn.
And it was just like, I was like, hey, I need,
it's like, it's not even over drugs.
And just to be clear, like, Evan he did this stuff too. Like he was a true believer. Like he really put his life on the line for these places. It was just a confluence of events that, caused a lot of this to happen. He really put a lot on the line for these places. And that's why I'm very careful. And I just truly don't want to be uncompassionate, if that's even a word. Like, I think it is. I think it's a word.
I'm the worst.
I want to be compassionate about what he put on the line for these places. Obviously, some mistakes were made. Some decisions were bad. But, he put a lot on the line. And could have worked out differently.
So let's talk.
Mike asked me before if anything's off limits, and I said no.
I did. I was like,
I didn't say I was going to answer every question.
So if I dive in, and he's like, it's fine, open book, and he's like, ooh.
No, I didn't say what I said. You can ask whatever you want.
So while we're segueing, why this bottle and who's the special to?
The thing I miss most about having a restaurant is people coming to see me and my friends coming by and saying hi. Because at Table 34, I had the perfect scenario. I had a really cool little local restaurant. People come by and say hi. They don't have to spend any money. I don't care if they spend money, whatever. Like, come by and say hi. I always told my friends, just don't cost me money. Don't sit at the bar and don't do anything. Because now you're costing, because someone else might want to sit at the bar, right? Don't cost me money.
Right.
But I'm generally not going to comp your check or whatever. There's other people involved. I have a business partner, investors, everything. So
it's rude to come in to your friend's business that's just opening up and expect a bunch of comps.
And nobody did.
And I know that.
Yeah.
But that's like, some people don't realize that.
Yeah.
So it's good to say that to the world.
Right. So my friends Jack and Rebecca, who had their wedding at Table 34, were just really good friends. And they would come in once a week and sit down, and we'd have a great time. And, may or may not have sometimes left at 3 a.m. and had security be like, are you guys okay in there? So she bought this bottle as something. Jack is a very big connoisseur of whiskey, and she bought this bottle for him and kept it at Table 34. And when we I'd bring out bottles and do whatever, and she'd ever wants to be like, hey, let's have the Orphan barrel, whatever. And so this is actually an interesting bottle. She bought it, I forget the name of the company, but it was a reputable company. It says 20-year-old on the side and 25-year-old in the front. And this is pretty rare for this to happen. But we had to try to figure out which one it was. And she bought it from a legit company, and we called them and they were super apologetic. They're like, we'll send you a new bottle, whatever. And we're like, well, can you just tell us which one it is? And my friend William, who is the self-proclaimed authority on Orphan barrel, tasted it. He said, it's definitely the 25. He's like, it's definitely the 25.
It's very dusty.
And that's what she wanted to buy, right, was the 25. But this bottle to me represents the people that would come in and hang out, and it's the part of the business that I miss the most. And it's the part of the business that could get me back into owning my own restaurant or bar or whatever. It's just, your friends come in and say hi. We're social beings.
And it's your bottom line, so it's like where your level is. You're not taking out of the till. It's like, I have decided this is okay to share a little bit of something.
Well,
cool
sure. And she bought that bottle with her own money and brought it in. And I had bottles that I bought with my own money. We had like this stash, right, of things where it's like, oh, people come in, bring that out, whatever. Because again, there's other people involved in the business, right? So I'm not going to give away like house liquor or whatever like that. Like it's my stuff, right? Yeah, it's a little dusty.
It's hot.
It's a little. I mean, it's high proof, And it's funny. I saw Rebecca. I'm still friends with them. They run tool tournaments. They're very prominent in the pool world.
I mean, it's only 45%.
Yeah, and I asked her about it. She kind of was like, it's kind of like, it's like I think she's sad for the times we had too that this bottle represents. And I just, that's the part of the business that I miss the most is people coming in and, seeing it. And that's what, I love everything I do, and, but having that where your friend, like having that situation where your friends come to say hi to you is like, is great.
This brings me back. And before we leave, we need to play the game. But there was something special about when we worked together at Bramare, and you'd be like, you can go home. Everyone close out your tabs. I'm going to pour some wine. And don't worry about it if whoever's pouring, you can tip them or whatever. So, and then you'd be like, gee, you can go home. It's all right. I'm like, go home. I'm in on this shit. And I'm on the clock. So I got to sip a little taste of wine. And I'm serving, and basically now it's after the fact. Again, he's not irresponsible. He's picking like responsible wines to do. He's not like dropping out Pappy for people. And it was this community of people that the door gets locked, and there's like 15 of us. And like Joe P was often one of the guys there.
It was a good after hours because my rule for that was simple. I'm like, hey, like there's going to be money thrown in the bar. Let me pay for the product cost. So I'm not costing the investors money, and then the rest goes to you or whoever was there. And it was just fun.
Exactly.
Yeah, it was great. And because the people involved are just like, like this isn't about me trying to create more business. It's about like, this is cool. This is cool. Like, were you there New Year's Eve? Or were you like, finally, I was like, we got to go. It's 8 in the morning. Like,
That sounds like me.
Everybody has these restaurant nights where, like you have fun, whatever. But it was great. And I will always miss that,
But that, and like you said, that's part of like that. When it is your place and like the margins and where you can play. And there was a certain amount of intelligence in what you did with like, I'm losing money here, but I'm gaining a following.
Right.
I'm gaining the best kind of the best kind of word of mouth you can hope for. And it's like, man, it was just me and the owner and a few people, and we had the best time even after hours. And it's like, that's like something that's it's off the cuff, it's random, but that's like something that can happen when you're an owner. When you're at a big conglomerate, it's business. It's all business.
Of course not.
Right. And it's irrealistic to expect that from any place. But so we had this game that he showed me.
I love the game.
And the game is the best. And I clocked in and I was like, man, I hope we play the game. And he'd be like, I can't play the game before 12 because, it gets a little off the rails. So the game is, Constantine would say, pick 2 bottles. I have 3 questions. I can look at the menu of all the things, and we were very accurate on what was listed.
Pick 2 liquor SKUs.
That's right.
2 liquors, yeah.
Pick 2 liquor SKUs from the menu. And I would he would walk into the back. He could not see what I pulled. I would pull the bottle down. I would pour the taste, and then I would put the bottle back. And he just has a spirit and a glass. And it was his job, 2 next to each other. And he had 3 questions that he could ask.
3 yes or no questions.
3 yes or no questions. I forgot about that. And it could be like, it could be relevant to price or, category and stuff like that. And he had to nail it down to not just what it was, but what bottle it is. Like what mark it is of the brand that he's talking about. So eventually, once I realized that he had tasted every single spirit in there, I'm like, now I have to become an asshole. So I'm tasting them. I'm like, here's 2 vodkas, you know, and tequila. We had such a huge tequila collection that tequila was really the only place I could get them because there's so many tequilas with so many nuance that if I confuse his palate, so it became this challenge. And one of the funniest challenges he ever did for me, because eventually I got in on the game, and he pours me Crown Royal.
Yeah, that was a good one.
I don't know it's Crown Royal, and I'm like, it's muted,
Like,
really subdued,
like, this sucks.
not very good. I can't tell what it is. And he's like, you will die when you find out. And I'm telling you, I thought of everything I could, and then to find out, I'm like, something that, you know, everyone's tasted Crown Royal that drinks whiskey, and you're just like, man, to not know these spirits. But I will say, this game actually makes you better at spirits. And one of the many gifts, so I would like for you to not look.
It's going to be a little tougher because you have a lot of stuff that I don't know, but I will play.
I'll go in your, it's
Are we doing this we're doing this for the show?
right now?
All
Yeah,
right, cool.
whatever. We got a few minutes.
Here, well,
I'm going to stick with agave.
so just in the effort to be completely true to this game, I have to leave the area because I have really good hearing. And I can hear where you're pulling the bottle. So
This guy's Batman.
I'm
He's
just
got
saying.
sonar now.
I don't know if we can like pause or however it works. Whatever, you know. Hey, camera
I'm
guy, is
so
that okay?
confident.
Can I
Dude,
leave?
all the tequila's right here.
No, I'm gonna leave. I'm gonna go
Okay.
outside,
No.
and the guy can do some magic and pause. You could talk to the camera. You could keep talking. I'm gonna go outside because I want to make this like.
It's gonna take me 1 minute.
I don't know if my mic's still on. I'll be out here talking. You know, whatever. You just like let me know when you're.
And this is how it was. He had to go out of the room and around the corner and out of view. So I got to go agave because he knows agave, but I don't want it to be too challenging. And we used to do a lot of Siete Leguas. We used to do a lot of Reposado, a lot of. Let's see how good he is. That's unfair. Winter blend. We'll go Siete Leguas. Siete Leguas Anejo. We're both very familiar with this, but I have to put the bottle back. And that's its own test. And then let's go. I love G4. Let's go Reposado G4. I guess it is a good thing that he walked out of the room since I said so much. Yeah. And as per usual, I have to taste next to you to know what we're talking about.
So this is 1, this is 2. 1's on the left, 2's on the right, right?
Yeah.
We get a little palate cleanser here of Jack and Diet Coke. If this ever goes viral, the Brown Foreman people will be like, this guy. Did you already mess it up?
Well, I mean, I can clearly. I mean, one is not a trick because you can tell the slightly darker quality of it, but. And I told you I'd stick agave because I wanted you to have somewhat of a, you know. Before we used to have a menu with prices and everything, so you could say like, is this over or under 20?
Yeah, and we had like.
Or no, is this over 20?
And we had like 300 spirits at Bramare, so like there was a lot, and there was a lot of agave there. All right, well, I'm gonna start with number 2.
Oh, okay.
Because it's a little funky. I mean, right away, I'm like, man, I haven't even tasted it yet. I'm like, this is Cristalino? What's going on here?
Got a little hue.
A little bit. Watch it be like a Pisco or something. I don't know. Wrong.
No.
Sometimes, like, when I was wrong, I was, like, really wrong. I'm like, it's obviously a Scotch. I'm like, that's Pisco.
And I'll also give you another hint because the one thing that I could ever
Well, we're already
trick
on
him-
hints. I'm already going to mess it up that
Well,
bad?
no, because there's a lot. Like you said, you don't have. This is a lot, but Lowland tequila used to be his kryptonite.
That is true.
I would put like
Cascan is done.
But I chose not to. Is Cascanes Lowland?
I don't know.
Oh, I was like, son of a bitch.
I think it is.
That's funny.
No. Kashuin is Lowland. That's the one you got me on.
Yeah.
That was the one.
That's right.
The one.
And it bothers him so much because he's really good at this.
Not that I remember it a year later. You have to aerate the tequila, even though aerating does nothing. Like in the wine world, you aerate, but in liquor, it doesn't really do anything. It's just more of like a, look at me, I'm fancy.
I mean, it's like, look at me, I gurgle spirits.
This is a lighter, more muted style agave for sure. I mean, it's agave. That's pretty clear.
I also wouldn't pour you shit, if that helps.
I'm not gonna lie. I would totally respect if you just poured me shit. But I would have set that out. I'm like, what's your worst tequila? All right, that is a lighter style. Not muted, but just very, very mellow. It's got some minerality, some earth to it. Could be a Cristalino. We'll get back to that one in a second. It's got some color on it. You know? Fuck, this guy. This guy.
It's a tougher game when you
Two
don't have
agaves.
I mean, plus you were very versed on that menu.
I may have drank a lot.
As one does.
One's a little fruitier. It's more of a straight down the line tequila. They're both tequilas, I believe. I don't believe any of these are other mezcals or anything like that. This has got kind of a vanilla characteristic to it. I'm going to go precise with my first yes or no question. Is this a product made by Herradura?
No.
Fair enough.
I was like, wait, do they have other brands? I'm like trying to think of what else.
I mean, the reason is because this reminds me of a product that they used to have. So I wanted to just eliminate that. It's a very, very specific question. Is this over 45% 90 proof? I won't look if you got to look at that.
I'm going to double check. No, that is not.
It's not over.
Neither are.
Okay. Oh, thanks for.
Oh, fuck. Thanks. Well, yeah, but honestly, for the sake of time, I'm going to eliminate some questions.
All right. All your tequilas are right there, right?
Yes. So you have 3 rows.
Jesus, you got a lot of tequila.
It is a problem. You really created a monster at this place. I mean, that was the one thing we had the most of was we had a Amari and we had agave.
I almost brought some tequila, because I know, I almost brought a bottle of Fortaleza Añejo just because you probably have one here, but I was just like, I already drink it.
Gosh, this was a gift from Joe. I just posted their pod. This is the winter blend of Fortaleza that is outstanding that Joe Arakawa gave the podcast, which is what a guy.
So there's like,
you know, my love for additive free.
So there's like 30 Blanco tequilas here, and I have to try to isolate.
I'll put it this way: neither of those are Blanco.
I had presumed that there might be some Cristalino here.
I'll also say this: neither of those are Cristalino.
Jesus Christ! You're trying to make a fool out. You're trying to make a fool out of me on a podcast. You know, and here we are. And, and now I'm a fool. You fool.
The game works better at a venue with price points because you can be like, "This is over or under 50." This is over or under 20. That eliminates a lot. So I'm going to give you hints: additive free. Not a Cristalino and not a Blanco.
Jesus, this guy.
Totally fucked. He's like, I thought it was both of those things. But here's there's a beautiful thing about additive-free tequilas. They should not be brown. They should be a hint of color. If it's like Dalmore Scotch. They make all of theirs uniform by adding caramel color. I don't personally want that. I respect that they're a brand that has a signature. I don't want that. I want what you made as a farmer and a craftsman. What did it come out as? And it's like that is an aged tequila.
tequila number 2, is this a blend? Like, I guess, the smart question for me to ask is just straight up, are these reposados? I'll burn one question on each.
Yeah, well, that's
a smart question.
There's a repo, and there's an Añejo.
I've asked one question on 1, no questions on 2. So I'm gonna burn.
We don't have time for both. You gotta knock these out.
Yeah, I'm just asking real quick. Is this a reposado? Or is this a reposado?
Now that you
know what you poured.
Repo, Añejo.
There's no fucking way that this is an Añejo.
It's a small pour. Think of now. You really have a hint. Look at how light some Añejos are.
No, this reminds me of El Tesoro, which is one of my favorite.
It's not a fair test.
Which is one of my favorite. Well, you don't want to give me hints. You could have just made a fool out of me. You know.
I would never. This guy, no fool.
You fool. There's too much stuff.
Right here, these 3 rows. Let's say I'm going to tell you these 2 brackets.
I know.
Additive free.
I think you're lazy, and this is number 2.
Son of a bitch. He got it. He got it. He got it. He said that's number 2. He got it. You saw me pull a Siete Leguas Añejo. What's the other one?
Oh, fuck, man. All right.
I swear to God, he was not in the room. He walked out my front door.
I gotta get a palate cleanser here.
This is amazing.
I
can't believe you I mean, I did give you a couple hints, but damn, that's still good.
You teed it up pretty well for me.
But I didn't, you know. There's a trick too, if you know how much I like some certain things.
You know what's crazy? I don't particularly love tequila number 1. I know. Nah, it's pretty good. I won't ask you one question on this. All right. I've only asked one question. I could ask more. G's lazy. He probably pulled something from the front. There's a psychological aspect to this.
I am lazy. It's a fact. You son of a bitch.
I don't particularly like G4 Reposado. I like the Blanco. I don't love...
Our friend would be very sad
I
to
don't
hear
love the Reposado. Because it's lighter style.
That's why he's a badass. I gave him hints. But he still nailed both answers. It wasn't a second guess.
It's lighter style. It doesn't have a lot of care. I'm going to drink some Blanco.
Look at this Añejo. He almost thought it was Cristalino because on a small portion, it's very thin and it looks very clear. And it's just like an additive-free tequila should look like that when it's aged.
My favorite añejo that's made right now is actually El Tesoro, which is similar to the Siete Leguas. Lighter style, all agave, not a lot. There's no caramel there's none of that. It's all about the agave, right? And the reason I got
El Tesoro.
I'll bring you a bottle.
Really?
It's really good. The reason I got this is because I remember the Blanco is one of my favorite tequilas. The Reposado, I'm not a huge fan of how they do the Reposado. You know, I don't know if the people from G4 are going to call me and be like, you motherfucker.
Isn't it Kevin McCracken?
Well, he's the distributor for it. He didn't make the tequila.
I talk in distributor. That's like that's my language.
I can't believe I got that. But you
nailed it.
You cheated though. You gave me a lot of hints.
The game used to be it's like this catalog, but you had a menu, and you could everything was on the menu. So there's
Mike G. I fucking missed this. I want to come over and like this is great. I should do this for you too. You know, like you've tried everything on this.
Listen, me, you, and Eric Kluver would get outlandishly out drunk as hell doing this because he's a guy I've never met a person like you have a great palate. Eric Kluver is like a guy that makes me feel terrible when I judge something wrong because he'll be like, "You like that?" And I'm like, "Nope, I do not like that."
You said something to me one time. You're like, if I ever see a bottle of Amaro that I've never had, I just buy it.
100%.
I just buy it. And I was just like, this guy is a master at his craft. All right, G, you're out of time. You got any other stupid questions you want to ask me right now for part one? Because we didn't cover a lot of things here today.
Well, you were being very coy on some of the details that I really wanted to share with you. After your book comes out.
So my book, which is going to be called "Where's My Table," it'll be done by the end of the year, and it's basically a kitchen confidential for the front of the house. And it's good, interesting stories, but the purpose of the book is to educate the reader, the end user, on what it's going to take to open a restaurant. And I start off the book with a foreword being like, as of this moment, I am a failed restaurateur. But because I've had 3 restaurants. There's one in DC, not different story. We opened a restaurant the day before 9/11, a block away from the White House. It was my mom and stepdad's. That's a whole different story. So there's a lot about it. And then there's Bramare and Table 3-4. So there's a lot to be learned from failure, right? And so the book is intended to be a kind of an educational thing to people who want to open a restaurant, but also like some real stories. And there's a lot of funny shit in there. There's a lot of funny stories. But I'll say it again, I said it before, like, people ask me all the time about, what happened and my business partner and everything. I said, listen, man, like life it goes south and decisions are made and whatever. But at the end of the day, like, I had my eyes wide open. I was an active participant in what was going on. And, some things went wrong and went south and we're just like, we're here we are. Like, how do I navigate this the best? But the thing that kind of like kept me going and made me be like, I gotta fight, were the people that I worked with and the customers and everything. I'm like, I gotta try to fight. Even if it ruins me, which it did. I'm gonna fight and try. And I just remember being like, well, if this doesn't work, I'm totally screwed. But like, I gotta fight. And you know what? Whatever. And I don't regret it at all.
It takes courage to do what you've done. It takes courage also to share your story. And I know we can't talk about every single detail yet. No. After your book comes out, we'll talk about a lot of details. But it's good for people that are going to open up a restaurant or people that are considering opening up a restaurant or doing anything like that to actually have a person that says, look, I love what I do. I will probably open up a restaurant again, but you need to know these things. And it's just like buying my house, buying this house. I learned so much from that time that I'm like, oh, the mistakes I made from that, I wish I knew that when I'm going in. So now the next time I actually do buy a house, now I have all this information that will help me better do my job. So the next restaurant that you do, which I know eventually you will do, and I will work there, and I guarantee it'll have every T crossed and I dotted, and then Murphy's Law will still come into effect and things will go wrong, but that's restaurants. And I couldn't be happier to have gained so much knowledge from you and be where I'm at today and say, I don't regret any moment I spent in that building. I'm grateful for the time we had together. And man, like, let's do it again.
What a time.
Let's get this.
I still cry when I watch your video on Facebook, though.
Yeah, check out my little, that makes me cry.
No, I watch it. Jim Roney did a video and he played some backtrack wherever he found the smell, like, goodbye, my friends, whatever. And
I was smoking cigars.
Niagara Falls.
Salud. Thank you. Have a great night.
I'm going to toast your expensive whiskey with my Jack and Diet Coke. And we're out.